My beloved friends, I know life can feel heavy sometimes, like you're carrying a weight you weren't meant to carry. Maybe you're facing a decision that feels too big, or you're in a season where nothing seems to make sense. I want you to know something. God is inviting you to trust Him, not just with the small stuff, but with everything. You've probably heard that verse in Proverbs, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding." Proverbs 3:5. But what does that really mean? It means that even when life feels uncertain, even when you can't see the next step, God is asking you to lean into Him, to trust that He's got you, even when the path ahead looks blurry. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you really stopped and remembered God's faithfulness? Think about it. There have been moments in your life, maybe big, maybe small, where God showed up. Maybe it was a prayer answered in a way you didn't expect, or a door that opened just when you needed it. Those moments are reminders that God is faithful, even when we don't see it in the moment. Now let's get real. How do you actually build that trust? Here are a few things that might help. First, pray. But not just the "God, please fix this" kind of prayer. Take time to really talk to Him. Tell Him your fears, your doubts, your hopes. And then listen. Sometimes the act of simply bringing your worries to Him is the first step in building trust. Second, surround yourself with people who remind you of God's faithfulness. You don't have to do this alone. Find a community, whether it's a church group, a friend, or a family member, who can walk with you, pray with you, and remind you of God's promises when you're struggling to see them. Third, serve others. I know it might sound counterintuitive. When you're feeling overwhelmed, the last thing you might want to do is help someone else. But serving others shifts your focus. It reminds you that God is at work in the world around you, even in the midst of your own struggles. And finally, surrender. This is the hardest part, isn't it? To let go of control. To say, "God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust you." Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to carry the weight on your own. It means you trust that God's plan is better than yours, even when it doesn't make sense. Now let's look at some examples from Scripture. Think about Abraham. God asked him to leave everything he knew and go to a place he'd never seen, and Abraham trusted. Or David, a young shepherd boy who faced a giant with nothing but a slingshot and his faith in God. And Daniel, who was thrown into a lion's den but trusted God to protect him. These stories remind us that faith often requires stepping into the unknown, believing that God is with us, even when the odds seem stacked against us. Here's the beautiful thing. When we trust God, He promises peace. Not just any peace, but peace that surpasses all understanding. Philippians 4:7. It's a peace that doesn't make sense in the natural. It's a peace that can only come from Him. So, my friend, here's the thing I want you to remember, and this is why studying the Bible for yourself is so important. Faith isn't wishing on a star. It's not about hoping something good might happen, crossing your fingers, and waiting for the best. No, faith is knowing God, who He is, what He has promised, and standing confidently in that knowledge. It's trusting that He will do what He says He will do. You see, God isn't some distant, indifferent force. He's a loving Father who keeps His promises. He's the God who parted the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who raised Jesus from the dead. And He's the same God who is with you right now, in this moment, in your struggle, in your uncertainty. So what's one thing you can trust God with today? Maybe it's a relationship that feels broken, a financial burden that's weighing you down, or a dream that seems out of reach. Whatever it is, bring it to Him. Take that first step of faith and watch how He meets you in the midst of it. Trusting God is a journey. It's not a one-time decision. It's a daily choice to say, God, I don't have all the answers, but I trust you. And as you take those steps, you'll find that His faithfulness is greater than anything you could imagine. So let's do this together. Let's trust Him, one step at a time.